Hi, everyone. Burnout doesn't have to be the end, it can be the beginning of a powerful transformation. So, today, we'll uncover how to rediscover your true self after corporate burnout. Hi, everyone. I'm Ritzel, Rectra, your social media content creator and digital process automation consultant. Welcome to another episode of Talking Business with Ritz, live expert interview, the show that humanizes entrepreneurship. So, if you've ever questioned who you are outside of your career, this is your chance to redefine your path. So, stay with us here in Talking Business with Ritz. All right, welcome to Talking Business with Ritz, where we showcase the human behind the title before the offer. Today's episode is all about thriving after corporate burnout, right? We're going beyond the career and getting to the heart of what really matters, your personal fulfillment. So let's get started and discover what makes entrepreneurship truly human. All right, here we go. Okay, joining us today is a personal reinvention coach who specializes in helping others rediscover their potential after corporate burnout. Okay, she spent over 2 decades running a multi six figure business, but her true calling emerged when she began helping others navigate their own transitions. What sets Nicole apart in her faith focused approach? She believes that aligning your life with your spiritual values is key through fulfillment. Okay. With a successful career behind her and a passion for helping others, Nicole is here to share her wisdom with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Miss Nicole Richards. Hi, Nicole. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good, Ritz. Thank you for that introduction. Thanks for having me.
All right, now let's get to know the person behind the title. Are you ready, Nicole?
Ready to go? Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right. Now let's get to know the person behind the title. Let's start with here we go. The first question: who is Nicole Richard as a person?
Ooh, who am I as a person? I am a curious questioner. I would say at the depths of like who I am, I have lots of questions. And as anybody knows who's gone through the school system, asking
Mhm.
questions is never a good idea. You're just supposed to kind of go along with what you're told. But I think as a kid, I always wanted to know why or where or how something was supposed to happen or what it was that I needed to do in order to help something happen. And I grew up asking a lot of questions. And so I still do that in a loving way, in a way that helps people think about who they want to be, what they want to do. I'm also a mom of two kids, and I'm raising them, I hope, to be critical thinkers and ask questions as well. And as any parent knows, your kids always have a lot of questions. So that breeds patience in me. So I guess you could say I'm a curious questioner. I'm a learner. I'm a person who wants to figure out how to thrive in life. And I am very curious about God's human design for this life that
Mhm.
we're living.
All right, that's good to know. I do have a follow-up question, though, Nicole. Um, can you can you tell us a bit more about how you started as a personal reinvention coach?
Yeah, sure. So how I started coaching is a little bit of a windy story. So just track with me a little bit. Um, I was a
Sure.
makeup artist for well over 20 years, and I had a studio and a team of 15 artists. And we would go out and paint the town red, I guess you could say. We
Yep.
were wedding specialists, and it was a great ride. It was wild and always adventurous, and I had fantastic clients. And I guess you could say I kind of hit the pinnacle of where I wanted to be in my career. There's always room for growth, but I had really hit some major goals. And then in 2018, I felt, I guess you could say, divine intervention. I felt that God was kind of pulling me in a different direction. But I was in my Michael Jordan era of my business. It was going well, and it didn't make any sense. The nagging at my soul that I felt to close my business and do something else. And I think it didn't make sense because I didn't know what the something else was. It wasn't coming to me. But kind of a bit of frustration, which might sound weird to somebody, but I closed my business. And
Wow.
it took me about a year and a half to wind it all down, because when you work in weddings, people book very far out. And so it took me till the end of 2019, New Year's Eve to be exact, on 2019, I did my last wedding. And Ritz, do you remember what happened 3 months later after December 2019?
COVID. Yes. What did you do?
Well, I no longer had a wedding business anymore, because I kind of went along with this weird urge. I had to start winding down my business. And so it's a kind of a little bit of a story to say that sometimes life starts to change and intervene, and we end up having to go in directions we didn't expect. But around the core of that weird idea of closing my business was actually a blessing on the other side, a blessing in disguise, because I was one of those businesses who had to think through how to deal with all their clients through COVID. So in the middle of closing my business down and trying to figure out what I was going to do next, I really enjoyed the time and the conversations I had with my own business coach. And I had some artists ask me my opinions, and we sat and we had some talks about strategy. And I thought, you know what, maybe this coaching thing is something I should probably look into, because I do
Okay.
these conversations and people keep seeking me out for advice. And just to be clear, coaching isn't really giving advice, but we'll come back to that.
Right.
So I went to, I looked into certification and what that would take, and I started the process, and that's how my second career was birthed.
Oh, interesting. All right. Now, can you share a key lesson you learned while starting your business that, fellow online entrepreneurs would find valuable?
A key lesson that I learned starting my online business: don't do what everybody else is doing.
Well said.
And so that advice is like, whether they're starting a brick and mortar business or an online business, it can get very overwhelming to think that when we see people online that we have to run our business the way that they're doing it. Especially in the online space where there's funnels and email marketing and Instagram and LinkedIn and algorithms, it can get very overwhelming. My one tip would be to make sure that you choose a path that you know that you can be consistent with. So if you don't think you can be consistent with posting on Instagram, twice a day, every day, just to make the algorithm happy, if it doesn't feed you to do that, don't do it. Find the thing that you're going to be consistent with, the thing that makes you very passionate about showing up online.
Right. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, now it's time for the lightning round of questions. Are you ready, Nicole? All right. Here we go. Quick and sweet. Let's start with the first question. What is your favorite word and why?
Oh, what is my favorite word? It's like a three. It's a three. What is my favorite word? I think I'm just going to go back to the word curious.
Curious. Okay.
Being curious. I was going to say what if, but that's two. So I would say like being, curious.
All right. Why?
Why? Because I think that's what brings us through life. Like right now, you can't see this, but I'm sitting in front of a window and I have a ravine behind me. So it looks like I call it the little jungle, and I have
Uh-huh.
to expect monkeys to come swinging through my jungle sometimes.
Oh, really?
There's just so many trees, and it's so lush, and I'm always curious on what's on the other side of that. Um, and I have gone out there to explore for sure with my kids. We've done that, but there is only so much I can explore, but I still stay curious about what's on the other side of it.
All right. Now, next question. What's your morning ritual?
My morning ritual changes from day to day. I know some people, they have like the same thing that they do, but I think it depends on how I wake up. But I have a tendency to be up before 6.
Mhm.
I'm a prayerful person, so I spend time reading the Bible, praying, journaling. And I feel like when I don't do that, if I, we've all had to be at the airport for like 3:30 in the morning. So
Yep.
those morning rituals kind of get thrown by the wayside. But I feel like when I don't do that, I'm really off balance for the day.
Mhm.
So my morning is very much geared towards having that quiet time. And another ritual is then after doing that, going for a walk. So I've been trying to up my time of walking. I'm up to an hour and a half.
Mhm.
And that really helps me clear my mind before I start my day.
Wow. All right. Now, beach vacation or mountain retreat?
Mountain retreat. I would there was a time I would say beach vacation, but this is going to sound funny to people. I kind of get bored sitting on the beach too long. Right? Like I've read the book, we've walked across the beach, we swam in the ocean, we did all the resort things. I think when you're out in nature and you're adventuring, it again breeds that curiosity for me.
Right. Okay. What's the most daring thing you've ever done?
The most daring thing I've ever done is gotten on the back of a motorcycle with somebody I didn't know.
How did that happen?
I don't advise this. Um, when I was in my very, very early 20s, I went to a nightclub. And it was a
Uh-huh.
really fancy nightclub. Everybody was supposed to wear white, and so you could see that's a very striking scene where everybody's wearing white. And so when we exited the nightclub, there was a group of guys on motorcycles, like
Mm-hmm.
15 or 20 of them. And I said to my girlfriend, "I've never been on a motorcycle. I think I'm gonna go on one today." It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, I think I'm gonna go on a motorcycle right now. So I made a friend, and he looked at me like, "You're a crazy girl. Get on." And he took me for a crazy ride. That was a really bad idea.
Very exciting. All right. Now, next question. Cats or dogs?
No dogs. Yeah, cats are, sorry to the cat lovers out there. They get a little bit sneaky and stuff. And when they're mad at you, yeah, no, I've heard too many stories about cats. So I'm gonna say
Dogs it is. Now, what's one thing most people don't know about you?
one thing most people don't know that I'd probably like to jump out of a plane at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd probably like to do that.
Right. Have you tried it?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
My
All
kids are
right.
older.
All right. Coffee or tea?
I just started drinking mushroom coffee, which some people don't think is coffee, but it's coffee. So coffee.
All right. So in three words, how
Mhm.
would your friends describe you?
How would my friends describe me? Kind of funny. Easy, I would say easy going, but serious at the same time, if that makes sense. I'm a
Okay.
go-getter, but I am easy to get along with. But when we're working, we're like working. Yeah.
All right. All right. A little bit on the serious side. Say you are facing your younger self right now. What advice would you give your younger self?
I would say work on you, like always be in constant flow of working on you. Like Go and study things that most people would think is crazy.
Mhm.
Go and study philosophers and Plato and go do that, right? Because those are things that will help you grow. Take classes. Even though you're in your 20s, go join a volleyball team because it's good to stay active. Like do anything to keep your mind sharp.
Right. I tried volleyball when I was like, how old am I? 26.
When you're 26. Volleyball's
All
fun.
right. Yeah. All right. Awesome. This is so nice. Thanks, Nicole, for being so open and candid with us. It's always inspiring to hear the story behind the success of a reinvention coach.
Mhm.
All right, now to our audience, if you are enjoying this, please like and subscribe to our channel. And for everyone joining us live, keep sending in those questions for the Q&A session. Did I mention we have a Q&A session? All right, we do. All right, now let's shift gears and tap into Nicole's expertise. So in our next segment, we'll learn from you, Miss Nicole, how to navigate the challenging path of personal reinvention. So let's jump right in. Here we go. All right. Welcome back, amazing fan bams. It's been wonderful learning about Nicole's personal experiences. When a career ends, it often leaves us questioning our identity, right? Let's start with a question that many face after burnout. Who am I without my career? Okay, so our first topic is rediscovering yourself. Who am I after my career ends? Right? So, Nicole, here's my question to you. When someone's career comes to an end, it can leave them feeling lost. So, what's the first step you recommend for someone starting the journey of actually rediscovering who they are?
So when someone is faced with the challenge of life going in a direction that they don't expect it to go in, especially when it deals with your career,
Mhm.
first thing that they try to do is they try to figure it out. They um, may look for new jobs. They may read things about careers. And I take a completely different approach. I don't feel like these really big midlife questions are actually solved by trying
Mhm.
to hit it head on. They're
Mhm.
usually solved in ways that people don't even expect. So if someone is rediscovering themselves because their career comes to an end, the first thought process is I have to replace my income. And so I don't blame them. Like you gotta do that. But
Yeah.
while you're replacing your income, it's a very different thing to need to replace your income versus figuring out who you are. You're not going to figure out who you are by getting a new job. So what I work with my clients on is discovering who they are and who they want to be. So
Mhm.
it sounds like very strange advice for most people, but I really encourage people to go and get a hobby.
Right.
Go find something to do that has nothing to do with your career. And a lot of the times you can either bring your family with you on this hobby
Mhm.
or to go and find out what you want to do yourself. And the reason is because our brain needs a chance to have fun. And as we get older, we start to not have fun. We start to take more leisure. So we end up on the beach. We end up going on vacation. We end up doing all of these things that actually sometimes is even more work than work.
Exactly.
We all need a vacation from our vacation. So I very much encourage people to tap into the things that they used to like to do as children, right? As teenagers. So I did
Right.
like to play volleyball when I was a teenager. So I do that with my kids now. I get out there and we hit the ball. I'm 48 years old and I'm chasing the volleyball because my 10-year-old son has hit it somewhere and I gotta, so it's one of those things where your brain needs a chance to do things that it finds fun. And as
Mhm.
adults, sometimes we fill that need for fun with the wrong things that are not helpful. So if you're just rediscovering yourself after your career ends, or you feel like you're unfulfilled by the career that you have, in
Mhm.
order to re-find yourself, it's important to tap into the things that you used to like to do when you were younger.
Right. Right. So once they began that self-reflection, right? How do you guide them to actually reconnect with their passions and strengths that might have been overshadowed by their career?
Yeah, you reconnect with your passion by so one of the first steps is that we make an inventory list of the things that they used to like to do. Now, this sounds a little easier than it is. Most adults don't really know what they like to do. The thought of maybe, I don't know, going back to playing tennis, or going back to swimming, or going back to knitting, if that's what they'd like to do, the thought of doing that in midlife seems like a waste of time. And it seems like it's going to be too hard to figure out or restart up again. But we start with an inventory list of the things that they used to like to do, and then look at their life and decide, okay, what one thing can you work on? I had a client who said she used to sing, and I said,
Mm,
okay, so can you find a vocal coach that you want to work with? And I think the thought of, but why do I want to do that? Like, why do I need to do that? And you're
yeah.
doing that to reignite your creativity. You will start to discover more about who you are when you start doing things that are outside of you, versus focusing so much on what's going on the inside.
Right. That's a very interesting, advice to give. Rekindling what you used to do, what you used to like, which you probably had forgotten for all those years that you are working, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now, um, how do you recommend they use this understanding to build new identity that feels authentic and fulfilling to them, aside from knowing what they've already been doing since young, or before they already got their career? How else can they actually um, build new identity?
So building your identity it takes time. It totally takes time. Yeah, it's not just that they're going to start playing tennis and all of a sudden they're going to have this new
Mhm.
identity. But one thing actually leads to another. Someone starts swimming again because they used to do that before they had kids, and then
Mhm.
they start to remember those parts of themselves that they really enjoyed. And
Mhm.
so you're always going to be working on your identity, right? Society has
Right.
told us when we finish school, then we're going to come out with a career. And then once you have that career, now you have your identity, but that's not really it. There's an identity separate from your career. And so if
Mhm.
you never really looked into the person you are outside of your career, you will always be working on that. There is no destination. It's a journey, because when you're 40, you're not the
Yeah.
same person as you are when you're 50. And when you're 50,
Yeah.
you're not the same person you are when you're 60. So this idea of finding who you are is a continual process.
Exactly. Exactly. Those were incredible insights. So now we've discovered rediscovering yourself, ourselves, right? Let's talk about a practical tool for making that discovery real. So let's now talk about our next topic, which is the life audit method, a blueprint for personal reinvention. So, Nicole, can you walk us through the life audit method and how it serves as a blueprint for personal reinvention?
Yeah. So the life audit method came about because I needed it, I think. Like I needed to I was coming across the thought process of doing an inventory of what was happening in my life. And so it's a series of questions that I take my clients through. Um,
Mhm.
and sometimes we answer them together. Sometimes I give them homework and they have to do it on their own. But again, it's a process that we're working out. And when you go through the steps, the goal is not necessarily that you're going to find you, like you're going to find you and this is who you're going to be for the rest of your life, but it
Mhm.
is that process of working out the fact that you are somebody beyond your career. So one of the questions that I ask, and again, it takes time for people to answer. I ask them not to just quickly answer the question, but really think through it. So your life has changed.
Mhm.
Who is it that you thought you were supposed to be? We start with who we thought we were supposed to be when we got interrupted. And most of the time people will think through the process that they went through with school, right? So we were in university.
Mhm.
I was going to
Yep.
become a lawyer. I was going to get married. I was going to have the 2.5 children with the white picket fence, which is the North American dream. And then it right? And that's not what everybody should have, right? Everybody should really have their own dream, but society kind of creates this box into which each person should fit into. And when it doesn't
Right.
happen, we have all of these questions. So we
Right.
started doing an inventory of who they thought they should have become, who they thought their parents should have wanted them to be, who they even thought their boss thought they should become. And when people start to write all of that out, it can be very cleansing. It can be very moving. It's quite a
Mhm.
process to go through with somebody because they're looking at their entire life from the last 20 years and realizing
Right.
some of it it should never even have been. But we see all of those things as learning lessons. So the first question is who do I think I should have become? And then the next question is, okay, here's where I am now. We have to accept
Mhm.
today. Who is it that we want to become? Who is that person? So, Ritz, I don't know about you, but I plan to live at least till the age of 88.
I
And
plan to live until the age of 100. Ah,
okay, I'm like saying 88 minimum. I'm saying 105 as a maximum. God will do whatever he does in between.
yes.
But
Whatever he likes, whatever he wants.
I'm still going to ask for 105. But I think I
Right.
picked 88 because 105 seems like most people. I've said this to a lot of people. 105, they're like, I don't want to be 105. That's so old, but I do because I think there's so much life to live.
Right.
So stuck with 88. So Ritz, if you think of yourself at 88,
Mm.
that's a whole different version of you.
Exactly.
Like your child will have grandchildren, God willing. You're going to physically change. And so because there's this other version of ourselves that we haven't met yet, it's really
Mm.
important to think about who we want that person to be. Who do I need to work like who do I need to become today, or what do I need to work on today so I can make that 88-year-old version of myself proud of me, but safe and secure and feeling like we made some good decisions in life. And so just thinking through that process, because we're always so focused on what we're doing right now, what the
Yeah.
bills that have to be paid right now, the people who have expectations of us right now, that we don't really think about who we need to be. We think about our retirement. I don't know if like where you are, if what retirement age looks like, but in North America, the idea of retiring at 65, you stop working at 65. But what if
Mm.
you envisioned you at 88 thriving? What if you still were riding a motorcycle? I don't know. Like, right? What
Right.
what do you want that version of you to look like? And then we need to reverse engineer back. So that takes
Mm.
some planning and some thought. And a lot of people haven't thought about that. And so I really enjoy having those conversations.
Right. And you are correct. Not a lot of people think about that kind of stuff, right? Right now. They don't even plan, right? They don't even think that they're gonna reach the age of 60, the age of mortality right now. No? Everybody, like, I lost my one and only brother when he was 36. Brain tumor, brain cancer. Who knows, right? If we don't plan ahead, right? We don't know what steps to make tomorrow, the next day, and the next day, so that we can reach that age that, I want to be this, I want to be that. So what are you going to do?
And
What are you going to do to reach there?
Ritz, my mother's 75. Who in the world wants to think about being 75? But the real part of life is that I'm 48. So if I got to 48, surely I'm going to be 75. Surely I'm
Right.
going to be 88. And then God willing, get to 105, right? And so
Right.
it is about our career. We do want to plan our careers because we need to be financially stable. But there
Exactly.
is that part that God has put into us. So what am I going to do with my talents and my giftings and my ideas? And when people start to get their hobbies and they start to craft or do pottery or play pickleball or go swimming, and they just kind of, you start to awaken a part of yourself that you forgot was even there. And then they start to make other changes and start to put on other
Right.
steps of things that they want to do. I would say the
Right.
most challenging part is the people around us. Like
Exactly.
when you tell somebody, "Oh, I'm waking up at 6 a.m. to go swimming at the community center," most people are going to say, "Why are you doing that before work? That's crazy." Right. And so one of the other pieces to this is really figuring out what we're going to do when the people around you are a bit negative about some of the
Mhm.
changes that you make, or the changes you want to make.
Right. And sometimes other people, especially those that are getting older, right? They're just letting the days pass by them. They're wasting away.
They are, and it's like the body is wasting away, but the mind
Mm,
is wasting away, and they're kind of bored, and they
yeah.
don't know what to do about it. They don't know what to do about being bored. And our doctors will tell us, well, these things happen when you get older, and this happens when you get older, but it doesn't have to happen to you, right? And so keeping the mind, like when you asked me what I would tell my younger self, keeping
Mhm.
the mind sharp, um,
Mm,
and engaging in different activities, it breeds curiosity, it breeds adventure, it breeds ideas, and then you find yourself doing things you never thought that you would do.
right. Right. Thank you about that. Now, what advice do you give to someone who feels overwhelmed by the idea of auditing their entire life?
Uh so it's a process. Like it's a process. And the cool thing about the process is as you start the process, it's like
Hmm.
every day something you hadn't thought about will come up, right? So
Right.
like we were just talking about becoming 88 or becoming 105,
Yep.
but I'm not the only one aging. My children are aging. So I have a 10 and I have a 14-year-old. And we often think about what happens. Okay, so they're in elementary school. Now my daughter's in high school. And we can think about life in chunks like that. But I'm
Right.
also responsible for helping her navigate in her 20s. But that means I actually have to start now. I can't start trying to help her navigate her 20s when she's in her 20s. We actually have to start the process now. So because I can influence the things that she does, what would I like her to read? What activities would I like her to take part in that in her
Mhm.
20s, she might be still interested in doing that. So she's in volleyball and she likes swimming and she taught herself how to ice skate. And so these are things that like in her 20s and her 30s and her 40s, she can actually still do, right? So the process of auditing your life is about you. But if you have children or elderly parents, um, whatever, like the people that you're responsible to, that also becomes a part of the audit. How do I show up in the lives of other people around me so that I can help them in the way that I want to help them?
All right. Now, what age do you advise for someone to have this life audit method? Is this only applies for people in corporate or
No, I think now that you're kind of saying it, maybe I should take my 14-year-old daughter through the process because asking yourself questions about who you want to become should
right?
actually be like a daily, it should be a daily questioning. It should be a daily
Right.
conversation. It should be a part of how you intentionally plan your life, right? So
Right.
if you have a blueprint that you're consulting people who build cars, they don't just create a new blueprint, right? If you're building a pickup,
Right, right.
you're building a pickup truck, and they can add things on, but the pickup truck isn't going to look like a dump truck or a 16 wheel.
Mhm.
It's never going to look like that. They continuously go back to the blueprint, right? And so for us to continuously revisit the things that we want, the person we want to become, again, it's a process. We just keep going through that journey. I really try to help my clients see that there isn't a destination. The destination is getting to 105 and looking back and saying, yeah, there's a couple of things that I did there that I'm really proud of. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to also be kind of ugly as we get older, but there's some things that I can say in my 40s and my 50s and my 60s. I did those things, and I'm really proud of me.
Wow. It really is the journey, actually, no?
It is, and it's getting away from the societal idea that if I take you through a process, if I take you on a walk for a minute, if you'll follow me on my walk, but when we are children, we go from kindergarten to grade 1, and then we go from grade 1 to grade 8, and in that process, there's always somebody telling you what the next steps are, and then you go from elementary school into high school. And again, there are people telling you what the process is. And then you go into university and college. And again, you have someone telling you the process. But once you leave college and university, there's nobody telling you what the next steps are. You have to decide what the next steps are. But most of the time, people aren't really prepared for what the next steps are. They just continue on in the last step. And the last step was they got a degree in whatever they got it in, and now they have a job, because in kindergarten they were told they need to know what they need to be when they grow up. And now at the road where they have the career, they got the diploma and in whatever certification, master's degree, and now they get to decide what those choices are going to be. And we kind of stay locked into the choices that were already given to us, and we don't think we can make other choices, but we can. And when you give yourself permission to make other choices, that's when you start to audit your life. That's when you can create your own blueprint. You give yourself permission to create a different design. You're not locked into having to do this one thing, but you can create your own blueprint and your own map for your life.
Right, right. So that I in conclusion, this life audit method, right? It's not only for corporate people. It applies to everybody, however, whatever age. We just need to guide them. No, we just need to have Nicole guide them. Right. Okay.
With my clients, we have a 90-day process, right? And so then we walk through that together. Yeah.
Right. Very insightful. Now, we've discussed the importance of auditing our life for a fresh start. Now, but sometimes change isn't planned. So let's now shift to the next topic, which is starting over and embracing unexpected changes. So, Nicole, when life throws us unexpected changes, right, the initial reaction can often be resistance. Right? How do you help someone move from resisting a change to accepting it?
Oh my goodness, resisting change is it's difficult. So if I can use myself as an example, because we kind of teach what we end up learning. I went through a divorce, and so that was a really big change, especially when you're with somebody for like almost 25 years. It's a very big change. And so one of the changes that I think I was resisting was the idea of moving forward, and I no longer had my makeup studio. I no longer had that business. And now I no longer had my marriage, and that the resisting of the thought process of who I thought I was. Like, I was a married woman who had a 6-figure business, and now I didn't have those two things. So, thank God I still had my kids. I still had the title of mother, but I was resisting the loss of those two titles of being married and being the 6-figure business owner. And so when I have clients, I can hear that resistance to letting something go. So I asked the question, when we're starting over, what is it that we need to let go of?
Right.
What are you holding on to that you need to let go of? Um, I think I've lost my train of thought, but it'll come back. Um, so once we can decide what we can let go of, that's what I was needed to remember. It's really the idea that we have to accept what's happening. We have to actually accept reality. That sounds kind of
Right.
strange, but a lot of the times people aren't accepting the reality of what's happening in this very moment, and we're trying to hang on to something that it's over, like it's already
Yeah.
passed.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to embrace unexpected change, the first step is accepting the change, accepting that this change has happened, and now
Mhm.
make some decisions on what's going to happen next.
Right. Right. So does it help if to actually reassess new goals or seek support?
It does help to reassess new goals, because sometimes the goals that you had can be literally ripped out from underneath you, right? When a person's marriage ends or their career changes, they weren't expecting to make any new goals. Like for me personally, I was a business owner with a brick and mortar store with 15 employees, getting published in magazines and doing all kinds of fun things.
Mm.
Who I wasn't trying to give that up. I really liked doing that, right? Um,
Right.
but life went in a different direction. Um, and I think again lost my train of thought, but it'll come back to
Right.
me.
Okay. Oh, let's jump to the next question then. How do you encourage someone to see these unexpected changes not as a setbacks, but as an opportunity for growth and reinvention?
Um, you first have to give them the space to see it as a setback. Like it's we can't we have to give people the space because they can't just move on, right? But how
Mhm.
long do we linger in that feeling of defeat? How long do we linger in that feeling that it's a setback? And so by the time people have contacted me, they've probably lingered in it for a really long time. Uh,
Mm.
and so with my clients, they tell the story. I give them the space to tell the story. I'm not a therapist. So coaches aren't therapists, and we're not there to give advice, but we are there to guide people through what they're going through. And when they call a coach like myself, a life coach like myself, they are usually ready to make changes. And so I make it very clear that you were here and now you're telling me you want to go here, you want to get over there. And
Right.
so I'm going to pull you along with me. We're going to start moving forward, and eventually they start moving forward themselves. And that's the beauty of what I get to do, is watch people. um, it's so interesting, Ritz. Like I've had people kind of show up to our calls and they're on video, and
Right.
they look like they've been going through a lot. And then by like the fifth or sixth call, like, maybe a woman and she's putting lipstick on and her hair is done. And right,
Wow.
these people, like they are giving themselves permission to change, and I just get to be a participant and watch the whole thing happen.
That must have been very fulfilling for you.
It's fun. It is really fun to see that growth.
Right. Those were fantastic insights, Nicole. Thank you. Thank you very much. And this is a very fantastic live expert interview that I'm having with you, Nicole. And let's continue with the Q&A segment for follow-up questions. All right, here we go. Let me just play the segment title. All right, so I've collected a couple of questions from my network. Here's the first question. Kind of small, and how do you balance following your passions with the practical need to make a living, especially after leaving a stable career? I think this is what you mentioned earlier about the initial thing that they want to solve is how do you replace the income, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Following, okay, so the way that I see this question, it can be in two different parts, right? So with it when it comes to, I'll put it this way. I was on Facebook Marketplace, and I went to go and buy something from somebody, and I showed up, and this man had this motorcycle, but it was like a vintage motorcycle in his garage. And
Mhm.
that was his passion. Like, he had a whole career doing something else, but that was his passion. He was literally rebuilding this motorcycle. So I said, well, how long is this going to take? And he said, it's been 6 months.
Oh, 6 months. Okay.
Right? So it was going to take however long he wanted it to take. And that was his passion. He wasn't going to make money doing that. He wasn't going to he's balancing his career by tinkering and doing this thing. But then there's people who want to make an income on their passion. And it can be tricky because when your passion becomes your business, sometimes it can be no longer your passion, because business is a monster in itself. So
Mm.
anybody who wants to take something that they can do, it's a gift, it's a talent of theirs, it is a passion of theirs, and they want to turn it into a business, I would really ask that person, can you see yourself doing this for the next 30 years? Like, do you think you'll still be passionate about this for the next 30 years? If the answer is yes, then let's go. Like, let's do this. Let's figure out how to make your passion your career. But if you can't
Right.
see yourself doing it for 30 years with clients emailing you and calling you, then we need to figure out what your career is going to be, and then what
Mhm.
your passion is going to be. It's because it can be two different things.
Right. Okay, now let's jump to the next question. What tips do you have for staying motivated when the reinvention process feels very slow or overwhelming?
Mhm. I would say seek out community, like find people who are also doing interesting things. And it's as an adult that can be challenging, because I'm really telling you, you have to go find new friends. And as an adult,
Yeah, true.
that can be a really weird thing to do. Um, but as I mentioned earlier, as you pick up hobbies, like if you show up at the pool for swimming at 6 a.m., I'm going to guarantee you that on those days, you're going to see the same people every day at 6 a.m. And
Yeah.
you'd be surprised how quickly you can find a person or two that becomes a little community for you. So I would say look for like-minded people, because as you're changing, other people will see those changes. I mentioned earlier, one of the changes I made was walking. And I didn't join a walking club or anything, but when I go out at certain times in the morning, I see the same people every single day. And so
Mhm.
we're not stopping and talking, but it's this regular good morning at 6:30 in the morning. Every morning I see that person, and I see that person with their dog, and I see that couple with their dog. And now I know that when I go out, I'm going to see those people. So I'm not necessarily building community, but I don't feel alone when I'm out walking. So I would say
Right.
find a way to find community, get yourself into situations where there's other people that want to do what you're doing.
Right. That is a great advice, to find like-minded people to that do the same thing or want to do the same thing as you want.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. Now, next question. How do you handle self-doubt when starting over? Do you have any strategies that can help?
Self-doubt is a lingering annoyance.
They call it sometimes they call it imposter syndrome. Yeah.
It's
Right.
not gonna it doesn't go away. Self-doubt doesn't go away, but we can do things to make it quieter,
Right.
so it's not so loud. So one of the tips that I would say is to get quiet with yourself, to either, if you're a journaler, or if you're a meditating person, or if you're a prayerful person, do things to keep your mind off of that thing. So I'll give you an
Mhm.
example. Um, I had a client who was pregnant and decided to have her child without intervention. So she had the child at home. And so we decided on a path of what we were going to do when she was in labor, because she's not in the hospital, she's at home, there's no drugs, right? And so she said that once she kind of realized, oh my gosh, there's no option to have drugs, she started to say a scripture over and over again. And that scripture was
Mhm.
my shepherd, I shall not want. And she just kept literally just saying that. And so I would encourage people to find a mantra, a saying, something that they
Mhm.
remind themselves of, so that when self-doubt creeps in, they have a way to catch it. And you catch it by replacing that thought. You can also catch it by doing the thing that you're afraid of. So if you're afraid to, I don't know, you feel like you're going to look silly going out
Yeah.
for a jog, the best way to cancel self-doubt is to go outside for a jog feeling like you look silly, but doing it anyway.
Great advice. What I actually do before I do this, because every day or every time I do this show, of course, who's gonna watch you? Who's you're gonna turn up silly, blah blah blah. So what I do is I practice before. I read through, I read through my guest profile and so on and so forth, and see what else does she know that we can talk about. You know, so that also helps me. Oh,
Yeah,
she's human too.
you throw yourself into it when you feel like you have that self-doubt and that imposter syndrome. You actually go and do it. Like,
Exactly.
well, that is one of the best ways to overcome it, is not to really think about it. When you catch yourself thinking about it, just go and do the thing. And the more you do the thing, that voice will become quieter.
Right, right. Uh, in this show, right? Sometimes we've talked about imposter syndrome in previous episodes. So we joke about it like giving banana to that monkey to keep it quiet.
To keep it quiet. Yeah, look, I'm gonna do my show anyway. I'm thinking nobody's gonna watch. I'm gonna do it anyway. And you'll be surprised. One day it'll just go viral. Like,
Right. Okay. Now let's get on with the next question. Here we go. What's the best way to manage expectations, both your own and others, during this major life transition?
Mhm. The best way to manage it with yourself is to actually be kind to yourself, to remember that you're going through a major life transition,
Right.
and to be gentle with yourself. And so self-care is really important. I think when the idea of self-care was first being talked about as women, it was painted as going to the nail
Right.
salon or going to the spa.
Right.
But I've kind of realized that self-care looks different for everybody. So for me, self-care is reading my Bible and having time, really quiet time, and journaling in the morning. That's what it looks like for me. For somebody else, self-care might be jogging. For somebody else, self-care might be playing pickleball with their friends. And so you have to
Right.
decide what that looks like, and then use it and be gentle with yourself. Managing your own expectations is really knowing that you're working on getting somewhere. So you
Mhm.
actually take those steps. You're going to be really hard on yourself if you're not taking those steps. So take whatever steps you need to take in order to go in the direction that you want to go in. That's how you manage your own expectations. When it comes to other people, we can only manage other people's expectations so much. So someone loses their job and all of a sudden they decide they're going to go swimming at 6 a.m. Your family, your friends are not going to understand that. That's right.
Exactly.
And so to manage their expectations, you just let them know you're working on it. Like, thank you for your opinion. Don't be afraid to set boundaries with people. Thank you for your opinion. I'm working on it. And that's like, I love you. I love that you love me and that you want more for me. But right now, I'm going swimming at 6 a.m. and that's how I'm working on my life. And it won't make sense to everybody. But as long
Right.
as you're doing something to move yourself forward,
Right.
eventually they'll catch up. It'll make sense to them. Like, did you see that guy on the Olympics? He was a rifle shooter. Did you see him? I don't know his name. He was from Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This guy was not like, he just kind of started going to the shooting range because he was going through a horrible divorce, and he started going to the shooting range.
Mm-hmm.
Story, if you can go and find it, is bizarre. He won
Really?
an Olympic medal. He won a silver medal because he picked up a hobby that he got obsessed with, and ended up in the Olympics. I think he's in his 40s. So it's not this, when people go to the Olympics, they've been doing these things since they were very young. He's not that. So his story is quite interesting as to what can happen when someone's going through a life transition and they pick up a hobby, and all of a sudden this guy finds himself in the Olympics, and he's one of the most used memes
Mhm.
that have come out of the Olympics. So you can only do like what's best for you. Obviously, we're not neglecting our responsibilities for people around us. But when
Right.
people don't understand that you've taken on something that you feel is helping you grow, you set up boundaries and allow them to manage their own expectations.
Right. Right. That is very interesting, especially that example that you use. I'm gonna look for him. I'm gonna use him as an example as
He
well.
needed something to take his frustration out on because he was going through a really bad divorce, and that's what he decided to do. And that desire and focus to do something for himself landed him in the 2024 Paris Olympics, and he won a silver medal.
Right. But then, when people are unsure of what's next, how do you, this is the last question I have here. How do they figure out the best steps to take without really feeling stuck?
If someone is still working out their best steps, my advice would be to work with somebody
Mhm.
that is a little bit ahead of you, someone who's been there, someone who has figured out those steps. Because a lot of the time we're going to try to get out of the situation that we're in the
Mhm.
same way that we got into the situation.
Right.
However you got into the situation is not how you can get out. And a lot of the times you can't um, outthink your problem. And so it's
Mhm.
good to have someone who is like completely unbiased. We can ask our family and friends, but they know us and love us and they don't want us to make any mistakes.
Exactly.
So sometimes that advice isn't necessarily where you need to go. And so, as a life coach, one of the things I mentioned earlier is that we don't necessarily give advice, but that curious questioner in me will ask self reflective questions to help you figure out what direction you want to go in on your own. And so, if somebody is feeling stuck and they can't figure that out, working with somebody that can help ask you questions is one of the best ways to get unstuck.
Right. That is actually what coaches have to be doing, not really like giving answers to questions that the your client have to be the one answering or asking themselves, right?
Yeah, it's their life. They need to be able to answer
Exactly.
certain
Exactly.
questions so that they can rebuild their own life.
Right. Thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing your valuable insights with us. Right. And if if I may say so, I love this episode today. It's very how to say relatable to me because I am still in corporate right now and doing what I love now. Suddenly, I found this, interviewing coaches like you, entrepreneurs like you, humanizing them and making sure that people, your clients, know that you are human too, you know, right?
We've gone through. I've gone through a lot of the things that I teach my clients, and so I love having those deep conversations and then watching them grow afterwards. It's good.
All right. Thank you very much for hopping in this show. Okay, now let's on to the next segment. Here we go. All right, now welcome back, Fam Bam, my fantastic Fam Bams. What resonated with me today is Nicole's advice on overcoming the fear of starting over. So it's clear that while starting fresh can be daunting, it is also an opportunity to build something even better. All right, now whether it's through the live audit method or simply taking time to reflect, These steps are essential in building a new fulfilling chapter in our lives. So, how about you, my Bam Bam? What is your takeaway today? Please share it in the comment right now. All right, now I know many of our viewers, Nicole, are curious about how they can take the next steps with you. Now, could you share how they can connect and work with you to reinvent their lives?
Yeah. So, as a personal reinvention coach, I help people reignite their dreams when they feel lost on the way to where they were going.
Right.
And so, the best way to connect with me is so my website address is in the notes there. And so it's also NicoleRichards.co on LinkedIn and on Instagram.
Right. Flashing it on the screen right now. Right. Okay. Now, do you have a special offer or anything for our audience today?
Yeah, so for anyone that would like to have an experience of a coaching session, if you've never worked with a coach before, because of Ritz, I'm extending to her audience. I'm extending to her audience a free 30-minute deep dive coaching session where I won't just ask you questions about you. We'll actually be going into the deep dive session. You'll experience a little piece of the life audit method, and yeah, I will offer that to your audience, Ritz.
All right. Flashing it on the screen right now. There we go. Okay. Okay. So, do you have what do you call that? Do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to leave with our audience before we end the show?
Yeah, just to wrap up what we've been saying, when life, as my 14-year-old daughter would say, life starts lifing, right? When life starts lifing, um, and you can feel very confused about why all of this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the community around you, they're listening to you, but they don't necessarily have answers, or you feel very stuck. One
Right.
of the best things to do in order to get your life moving forward is to work with a life coach. And so you can always reach out and we can have some conversations about how you can rebuild and reinvent yourself when life isn't going in the direction that you expect.
Right. Those are wonderful words to live by and much appreciated, Nicole. So, to everyone watching, if you're ready to take the next step with Nicole, don't hesitate to reach out to her directly. And I'm going to flash it again on the screen. Um, Her website is down there on the ticker. It's www.nicolerichards.co. And you can reach her at LinkedIn via the handle Nicole Richards CO, and also in Instagram, Nicole Richards.co. All right. So, Nicole, thank you very much. Thank you very much for gracing the show today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and guiding us through such an important conversation today. And we hope to have you on the show again.
Thank you, Ritz. That was fun. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Nicole Richards. All right, and that wraps up today's episode of Talking Business with Ritz. To our viewers, thank you for tuning in. And remember, the key to growth is continual learning and adaptation. Keep pushing the boundaries of what you can achieve. So, coming up next in Talking Business with Ritz, let me just flash this on screen. All right. So we'll be talking about increasing online visibility with podcasting. So SEO tips to maximize your podcast reach. This is going to be a very interesting topic for our fambams who are looking to increase their reach and visibility online. So mark your calendars on August 31 at 11 a.m. EST, 8 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Mountain, 10 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. if you are on my side of the world. And make sure to DM me all your questions for the Q&A segment. Now, before we go, I want to remind you all that we're building a community here. All right. We're building a community here. It's a place to learn, grow, and support each other. So thank you very much for being part of it today. Now, please subscribe and follow our channel for updates. So up until next time, stay inspired and keep pushing forward. This is Ritzel, Rectra, and our expert guest, Miss Nicole Richards. Stay safe and healthy as we continue talking business with Ritz. Bye, everybody.